everyone. Chris Heerlein here, host of Retire Ready TV on KXAN and host of Wealth Radio every Saturday on News Radio KLBJ for over a decade now. Thanks for tuning into our channel. If you enjoy this channel, hit the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications. Today I'm talking about something I'm very passionate about. It's empowering women investors. I want to see you engaged, and I want you to be proactively planning for if you were to survive your spouse and the impacts of that. Let's dive into those today and a lot more. I'll give you a scenario. Oftentimes families will come in, partners will come in, and they're sitting down and one of the individuals is engaged in the investments, the finances, really has potentially done a great job in managing all that. And then maybe the other spouse doesn't do any money, or maybe they just handle the household bills and that's about it. And part of the reason families engage us at REAP Financial and our fiduciary advisory team is to ensure that they have a trusted partner in the event that one spouse, the spouse, let's say, that managed the investments or enjoyed the investing side of things, if they were to pass away, you were to survive, they have a trusted partner that could step in alongside and make sure that their retirement is not jeopardized. And what we see oftentimes is that women, they are not as engaged as the men. And that's not in every case, but we have seen a trend of that over many years. And so what we encourage our female investors to do is to obviously try to get engaged, get educated, stay in touch with our resources. We've got a lot of these on our YouTube channel, a lot of these on our homepage, reapfinancial.com. But there are some challenges that female investors can face if you were to survive your spouse. One of the things that comes to mind is Social Security. What's going to happen? What check will I continue to get? Will I get widow's benefits? And the thing about Social Security with widows is it's very critical that you have a plan around this, because you have options as a widow. You can take a spousal widow's benefit, or you can take your benefit, depending on your age, if you're still working. There's some critical decisions, some timing decisions, really to be made to ensure that you wring every nickel out of your Social Security benefits. So do you know if your spouse, their benefit is larger than yours? Is yours larger than theirs? What is your timing strategy around this? And in most cases, you're going to elect to get the larger one. So let's say your spouse has a larger benefit than you today, you survive them, you would be able to get 100% of their benefit. Yours would then go away. Now, another thing to take in mind or keep in mind is that if you take your personal Social Security benefit early, and that's coming in for many years, you survive your spouse, you move to the spousal benefit, that benefit will be reduced because you took your personal Social Security early. A lot of times, the spouse with the larger Social Security benefit, they're keeping in mind that, the longer you delay your Social Security, the larger the widow's benefit will be for my spouse. So again, when it comes to Social Security planning, in the early years, in the middle years, or the late years, it's critical that you understand how your income stream, one of the strongest points of your retirement, could be impacted. Another thing that comes to mind, and this is a big one, I call it the widow's penalty. And see what happens as you're married, you file joint. That is the most favorable tax treatment of your income, of your 401ks, of your IRAs throughout the years. But when you lose a spouse, the following year, you're going to be filing as a single filer. And this gets very expensive. Oftentimes, the budget doesn't go down that much. If your spouse was taking required minimum distributions out of their IRAs, 401ks, those now become your required minimum distributions. And every dollar generally that comes out of those is taxable as income. Now, there's also a bracket shift when it comes to your Medicare. Your Medicare premiums, the cost you pay every month, is dictated on your income, not your net worth. And most of our successful families, they have a nice lifestyle they want to maintain, whether they're both alive or whether they survive their spouse. And so decreasing lifestyle and after losing a spouse is generally not something that most of our retirees want to do. So you need to have a plan for how you're going to mitigate those taxes in those single filing years. And are there things we could be doing now while you're both around to mitigate future taxes on those dollars you may need in your 70s, your 80s, your 90s. An often confused item that I want to cover is really around your assets like stocks, mutual funds, things in your brokerage, your investment accounts, also your highly appreciated home. Okay, a lot of times families, they're in that home, their dream home for retirement, and then you lose a spouse, and you're like, I don't want to have to keep this house up and the expense and everything that comes with it. And oftentimes you'll see an individual downsize, consolidate a bit. And that highly appreciated home that you've been in for maybe 10, 20 plus years, when you go to sell that, you generally need to be concerned about capital gains tax. And if you're married and your spouse is alive, you guys have up to $500,000 here in the state of Texas that you can make on the sale of your home without any tax. As a single filer, that goes down to $250,000. Okay, so you get a larger benefit, obviously, if you're both around. Now, this is where there's a big misconception. People are like, well, if I'm gonna lose that $250,000, I'm only gonna get a $250,000 on my side. The gains in my home are much greater than that. So am I gonna get killed in taxes? And the answer is likely not, because what happens is you get a step up in cost basis on that home. So the day your spouse passes, as long as it's jointly owned, you'll get a step up in cost basis, meaning you could stay in the home, let it continue to appreciate up to really another $250,000 without facing taxes. The same is true for your highly appreciated stock. And so in some cases, if you've got a very concentrated position and you're sitting there going, well, we're gonna pay a 15 or 20% capital gains tax to move out of this or further diversify. If you lose a spouse, generally those stocks, those equities, whatever that is, will get a step up in cost basis as well, allowing you, if advisable, to further diversify and mitigate a large tax liability. Hey, I want to encourage you to get a copy of our 10 tips to help empower women investors. Email retire@reapfinancial.com. That's retire@reapfinancial.com with YouTube Women's Guide in the subject line, and we'll have that right on its way to your inbox. That's retire@reapfinancial.com.